Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we're talking about Longlegs, directed by Perkins, and starring Nicolas Cage, and of course I'm forgetting the actress's name now that we're doing
Monroe.
this. Maika Monroe, thank you very much, who did an amazing job in the movie, by the way. Listen, let's dive right into this. First of all, I really like this film.
I also did too.
I liked it quite a bit.
Yes.
I do, by the way, this is going to be a full spoiler review, so if you have not seen it, go watch it, then come back and watch this. We're going to be fully spoiling the movie. Now, with that being said, they did not market the satanic aspect of this.
No.
I don't hate that, because I get it, one. Two, actually enjoyed realizing while I'm watching the movie, like, oh, this is going to be a different movie than what I thought it was going to be. And it started when she kind of had this, not premonition, but this intuition of where trouble is. And it's just like, okay, like this is not going to be a standard procedural, you know?
Yeah.
Just based from that. I enjoyed that aspect of the movie. I thought it worked for me. But I also understand, like, that's going to work for you or it's not. And for me, it worked.
Well, I think the thing that's working against it, while I appreciated that they didn't market it, because I think it is such a huge element and sort of something you're not expecting because it's revealed throughout the movie. But the way they were marketing the movie, I feel like some people might have a hard time reconciling that because they're going in expecting, as the marketing would believe, one, the scariest movie you've seen in a decade, and two, the next Silence of the Lambs, which I don't think it's either of those things, but I think that if you're grasping for a comparison, I guess Silence of the Lambs would be the closest, but like also kind of, I don't know, The Exorcist in a way.
Yeah, in a way.
Like it's like a weird sort of like...
It's very much its own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Paranormal Activity meets Silence of the Lambs. Seven.
Yeah, no, but I get that. But I also, first of all...
That was a bad comparison, ignore that.
But it's hard to articulate, is what we're trying to get at. And I will say, the marketing team for this movie, kudos.
Well done.
You did an amazing campaign.
Fucking getting people into theaters, that's for sure.
That is 100% for sure.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see. Our theater was packed when we watched it. But also, going into the actual movie, opening scene, fucking amazing.
Yes.
The 4-3 was terrifying. How everything was framed was terrifying. The music was terrifying.
The introduction of Nick Cage's character was terrifying.
Yes, all of it scary.
Yes.
What I find interesting is this movie does a great job of, like, I'm horrified of the Longlegs character. We never see him murder anyone. And it's like, that's horrifying. Like that's great filmmaking. You know, like that I'm terrified of this person, and I've never seen him kill anyone.
Just his presence existing.
Yes. And I love the comedic bit where he goes into that, like, what is like a library, like a convenience store, and the girl at the counter is like, Dad, that fucking weird guy's here again.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. But Maika Monroe, amazing performance. And I also think that the actress playing her mother gives a great performance as well, because they both, you can tell, like, how she was acting. I'm like, okay, she's obviously a very particular type of person. She's very kind of direct, very, you know, no sarcasm, no bullshit kind of person. And then when she calls her mother throughout the movie, her mother acts the exact same way. And I was like, dang, she's literally just like a product of her mother. And I thought that those performances really helped buy that story really well.
Because it's like as it's revealed later, the mom's role in everything. It's sort of, clearly the mom has a bunch of trauma, and being a single mother as it appears, you know, that trauma got passed on to the character, but the character doesn't remember any of the trauma. So she's just a product of, like, that's how she just almost thinks people act.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And I also think it was interesting that, like, really, I think the most tragic character in this story is the mother, because she basically did what she had to do to keep her child safe, and then in doing that kind of became this new person that started out as I'm doing this to save my daughter's life, to, like, oh, this is what I believe and I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, like it's almost like a is it Stockholm Syndrome?
A little bit, like she lost herself.
Yeah.
And like, that's really upsetting to see. Also, another performer I want to shout out, Blair Underwood, who played her partner, or like the main cop. So good in the movie.
The guy?
Yes.
Oh, he was really good.
Great job on him as well.
He probably actually has the most tragic storyline, really, in the end.
Yeah.
No, and Nick Cage was great. He was terrifying. He was doing kind of what you would expect from Nick Cage in the role.
Yeah.
Which is both a good and a bad thing. You know, like, it's what I came there to see.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it worked for the story they were telling.
I agree. And I think visually is where this story really captures you as an audience. Like every shot looks great. Everything, the cinematography is wonderful. And while the whole movie isn't in 4:3, it's almost looked like it could have been all shot in 4:3, the way everything is framed.
Everything's kind of center frame.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought that it was a very interesting look. Mm-hmm. And I know that type of framing has been getting a lot of shit recently because people are saying, oh, they're doing it so that they can make TikToks because everything's in the middle. And I'm like, this is clearly not a movie that had that in mind. Like when you watch it, so not the same thing. And I think that the way that the movie used intrigue also really worked because it would introduce new elements. Like it introduces the doll element pretty late into the movie. It's almost like halfway into the movie. Mm-hmm. And you're like, how is this going to fucking tie into everything? And I thought it actually worked quite well.
Yeah.
And I thought that the way that it would slowly unravel the supernatural religious element of this movie was kind of a way to have the audience buy into it rather than try to just throw that at you in the beginning and be like, oh.
Like as like, here's what's happening.
Yeah. And I think that really worked.
It's like it's doing essentially like two parallel investigations because it's like she's trying to investigate Longlegs, which then leads her into this other story.
Yeah. And I can see the argument that some people are going to take issue with, like the story conveniently just being about her and her history, but that's not to me not an issue because it's like that's just what the movie is about how this affected her history and everything, and clearly at some point it at least seemed like Longlegs knew that this was going to happen at some point. At least that's what it could be interpreted that way. I also think that the interrogation scene at the end was fucking awesome. It was so good. But in terms of negatives in the movie, the only thing that was bothering me at first was how Longlegs straight up just goes to her house and like leaves notes in her house. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right. And then you call your partner and you say, this fucker's at my house. And like, you know.
Well, yes, but also at that point, I also sort of that him just being able to get in and her being a trained FBI agent, that was a little loose for me. Mm-hmm. But her not saying anything and trying to investigate it on her own, I bought into.
Like I bought into it as it went on, but while it was happening, like I'm watching it and I'm like, and call your partner.
Yeah,
and so
your house is a crime scene now.
Yeah, and like what kind of saved it for me is when the partner later brought up, like the partner basically figured it out.
Yeah,
like he was like, you know, when you were a kid, your mom did a police report of seeing a stranger.
Well, because she also didn't try to hide it, because she's like, there was the Longlegs has like a coded alphabet, and she cracks it, and is because of the note that he left her, and then every crime scene she's like, okay, and then just goes on like it's nothing. And the partner's like, what?
Yeah, and but he even brings up to her, he's like, did someone come to your house? Yeah, like he basically like figures it out, which helped me accept that part of the story later, because I'm like, if this just doesn't go addressed, like, come on, you know. Yeah. I did clock that he was living in his mom's or her mom's downstairs, but I didn't clock how they were going to tie it together, and I thought the reveal of it was pretty good, like when she woke up down there.
Oh, like you thought it was going to be like neither of them knew?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a situation like that, because like when I didn't really put together that the mom was involved quite yet, I mean, I knew something was off with her, but I just thought like, oh, maybe she is just like that. But that's why the flashbacks do a good job of like showing the mother completely not like that, and you're like, okay, what the fuck did happen here? But I thought it was going to be a thing of like the mom is just like, what room, you know?
Yeah.
And it would end up, but I like the way that it was revealed.
I think that in terms of negative, I really dug the supernatural elements of it, and the way, like we've been saying, they sort of lead into it. I think it was just the way the mother's involvement was revealed, I think could have been stronger. If you've seen the movie, right, which hopefully you have if you're watching a spoiler review, you know, the whole bedtime story, it like worked, but like certain elements of it, it just felt like too much of an exposition dump, where I was like, okay, like...
Yeah, like script-wise, it was, here's the section where everything gets revealed, and how they chose to reveal it was through a very elongated bedtime story.
Yeah, where it's like a 5-minute sequence, and I'm like, okay, the mom's involved. And I think that's where it sort of maybe lost me, but then it brought me back with like the dolls and the supernatural. Like I enjoyed all of that, and I enjoyed how the mother was being utilized for the, like, being forced to essentially, then ultimately believing everything, I
Yeah.
thought was good.
Yeah.
It was just that main like sort of reveal,
Mhm.
which then it's sort of hard where it's like, yeah, but that's like that's the moment of the movie.
Yeah. I also love how at no point at the very end of the film did the lead character try to save the cop's wife. Like they're like,
Yeah, no,
we're gonna go to the kitchen, and she's like, well, fuck. Like they're
like it's and it's stuff like that where you're like,
it's
but and you could write it up to her being like trying to process what's even happening.
but it's like shoot your mom, shoot the doll, go in there and save.
just
the
call
wife.
it a day. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and to me, it's almost like the original Blade Runner problem of that movie's a masterpiece, but man, for an investigator, that guy gets awfully lucky.
Yeah.
And like, same thing here. It's like, you're an investigator. You're supposed to figure things out, and you're not figuring things out when we are. And like, I think that's the only like big flaw of the movie.
But do you think that was intentional to try to have more tension where the audience knows?
Yes and no. Like, the audience figures something out and none of the characters know is one thing. But like, in that moment, in the finale of the movie, when the husband gets up and is like, come on, honey, we have to go to the kitchen. And she's like, we'll be back. And he's like, nope, only I'll be back. Like,
like it was that dialogue of the
it's like,
ending. Yeah.
Okay, he's going to kill her. Like, you figured this out, right, detective? Like, FBI person?
And I think that's sort of where the ending gets me, is because that scene comes pretty much immediately after the elongated reveal thing. But then, like, the scene after that, I love. No, wait, that's the ending. When did they do the doll outside?
That was right when she went to go confront her mother, and then the mother killed the cop in the car.
Right. I loved all that. I was like, oh, shit. And then it goes into the reveal in the ending, and I was like, those last 10 minutes...
Yeah.
It didn't ruin the movie for me, but I was like, I feel like there was a stronger ending there.
Yeah. Cutting to Nick Cage saying "Hail Satan" for the ending, icing.
No, that was great. Yeah, but it was like, it was those like 10 minutes where I was like, I don't know if this is all clicking the way they want it to, which was a shame because everything before that clicked so well.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment. Yeah. No, I think we're kind of on the same page about this one.
I mean, I gave it 4 stars
same,
on Letterboxd,
same.
and
You know,
I think it could have been higher, but that's sort of where I landed with that ending.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. And by the way, guess what I was today years old when I discovered? The director, Osgood Perkins, son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in Psycho.
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool, isn't it?
This is a random aside, too, but I love his beef with
Ty West.
That's apparently a thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he did an interview, for those that don't know, and we can cut this if we don't want to include it. Yeah, he did an interview, and he was like, yeah, I don't like
We're
modern...
including it.
He's like, I don't like modern horror movies, and I don't want to go see them. He was like, I saw X because of circumstances, but I'll never see Pearl or Maxine. And I was like, why did he name only Ty West movies?
Yeah, he's like, I don't like modern horror movies, but I'm going to name just this. By the way, I've said Osgood this whole time. Oz. His name is Oz Perkins. I think I watched a lot of Matt Smith Doctor Who recently, and Osgood's one of the characters, and maybe that's what's in my head. But yes, Oz Perkins.
Oz Perkins.
But yeah, that'll do it for Longlegs. What did you guys think? I'd love to see your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review.